Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth here. So I wanted to do this quick video in regards to ask this. What is the universe trying to teach me? Um, I, like everybody else, have gone through so many changes in 2020. It seems like you can't really have some form of stability for a long period of time. And now with all these West Coast fires happening, there's been a lot of drastic changes in a lot of people's lives right now. And so this year has been very, very heavy. For those who are more empathetic or empaths, spiritual people, you can kind of sort of feel that the air is kind of dense. For a long time in Seattle, a lot of us have talked about there's just this like dark energy or dark cloud just kind of wafting over the city. A lot of that I think had to do with the tech industry and with Amazon changing the culture of this place. And there's a lot of the dark side of this city with a lot of the promiscuity. There's a lot of heavy drug use. You have that Burning Man culture that can be very hedonistic itself, with just a very open lifestyle. And so everybody picks up energy on a different way. But what I'm trying to communicate right now is that there are so many changes happening in people's lives that a lot of people are emotionally and mentally breaking down, and it's too much change to where people can't seem to handle it. Some change is positive, most of it right now has been negative. So what is this trying to teach us? I do believe that the deep underlining meaning of a lot of lessons in life right now through coronavirus have been trying to teach us lessons on trying to reconnect with God. I think we've become too independent, too self-reliant, and we've disconnected ourselves from the source and or from community, to where social isolation is going to lead us into more of a depression. It's almost like an auto-genocide type of concept that I don't really want to go down that rabbit hole. But there are lessons in life with everything, and in today's climate, not necessarily the weather, we have to look at certain things from flipping the lens of why is this happening to me. Instead of having that mentality, you have to flip your lens to say, what is this doing for me, or what is the universe or God trying to teach me? We have become so consumptive in our culture. I just recently looked at a house to move into, and I was just kind of shocked at how much stuff the people had, because this is just who we've become. It's very, very different from the life that I lived in Europe, where you live in smaller spaces, people don't collect things, shopping is a little bit more practical. It's not just this emotional, needy, kind of hoarding type of mentality. And so, the family had to move out to find a bigger space. And in my head, I'm like, how much more space do you need? We just keep collecting and holding on to certain things. And I guess in my head that with this time period, I don't know what or why certain things happen, especially when it happens to good people, because I've been on that receiving end. It's like, God, I've done things, quote unquote good, or, I've lived this moral life. And a lot of times you kind of take this blame, like, why is this happening to me? It's a pity party. And what you need to do is flip the lens to say, what is the lesson, or what is God or the universe teaching me through this? Because as I've talked about in other videos, some of the strongest souls that I've ever known have been born into really horrible family and life situations. It's really easy to kick the bucket for them to do things like commit suicide, but they've continued to push through, they've continued to find therapy to overcome their trauma and their wounds. And so right now, whether you've lost your job, or some people have lost their entire house or their whole town and community, I don't know why this is happening to them, but there are some underlying issues. Fire spiritually is a very destructive force, and destruction and creation are coupled as one unit. So when something gets destroyed, something else can recreate itself. It's just like when Mount St. Helens blew up many years ago, it destroyed the landscape, but eventually life recreated itself. So a lot of lessons today, it might just be, well, maybe I need to become less consumeristic, or maybe I need to focus on my finances. A lot of earth plane lessons can be learned here, but I do think a lot of this is waking and opening people up to be able to find a connection to a higher power. Obviously, depending on what area of spirituality you fall in, that's going to look different. Obviously, Christians are going to, search for Jesus and God. People in the healing arts might just be searching, for source or the higher power. So all of that labeling is very different depending on what you believe in or your current stage in life. But you are still connecting to the higher ethers. It's like technology is storing all of our data in a cloud. And in spirituality, we've talked long ago when I did Reiki, was that, we've had people in Reiki circles pick up on the same thoughts, or the same thing has been vocally expressed at the same amount of time. So there's this thought in spirituality that you're, oh my God, these couple souls are like hanging out in the same thought cloud, or kind of wired to the same thing. And so whatever you believe in, you can start to channel and focus yourself to that higher belief. It's really sad. I don't know. I'm on an Etsy seller's Facebook page, and one girl who is a seller on Etsy lost her entire house from a fire in Oregon near Medford. And I don't know why these things happen to certain people. There is I think the West Coast does have a dark, seedy side. If you look at the book called Brotopia, it talks about the dark side of Silicon Valley and these hedonistic sex parties, and women doing these things at sex parties just to advance their career in the tech world. And I think the more you dabble in that drug, hedonistic lifestyle, it's very destructive and self-destruction. And if you look at human history, look at Pompeii. It was a city that was home to a lot of high up Roman generals. It was also a very brothel based society. I mean, the Romans in general were like that. And a volcano destroyed it. So I don't know why this is happening to the West Coast. But what I'm trying to say is that maybe even if you've dabbled into those certain things, maybe the bigger lesson here is to try to destroy that dark side and to try to recreate a more sense of a more pure life. Everything in life has a lesson. Even when you stub your toe on your desk while you're, on your way to your car to work, maybe that's just a simple sign, is try to slow down. Maybe you've been doing too many things, you have too much on your plate and you have to dump it off. A simple stubbed toe can mean just that. That happened to me a couple years ago. I was teaching a yoga class on the rooftop, and I broke and fractured my toe because I was moving furniture, and I hit a vent pipe, and it fractured at the bone. And when I was reading about that specific toe, it just talked a lot about the disconnection from spirit and from God. And at that time, like, I was going through a divorce, and I was so worried about money and so worried about if I would ever meet anybody again or ever get married again. And I just completely lost connection. I didn't lose faith, but I just lost some connection. So whatever you're experiencing in life, whether it's good or bad, just know that the God in the universe is trying to teach you something, and there's an underlining lesson that only you can tap into through your mind, your body, and your soul, understanding a little bit of your own intuition with that. But just know that things will always get better. So if you've gone through a bad time period, it will get better. That's the whole analogy through peaks and valleys. You cannot hit the top of the mountain and continue to ascend. It's going to descend. And that, I think, is a big lesson for a collective environment, because the Romans are such an interesting time period to understand, because they were the biggest empire that has ever ruled. They were very intelligent. They were very wealthy. They were also very hedonistic. They were the original spin doctors. They, spread propaganda, and that establishment failed. And even if you look at the highest mountain peak on this planet, Mount Everest, there is a peak, and on the other side, there is a valley and this descending process. And I talked about in other videos, I don't want us to go there, but you kind of wonder if we're hitting a peak in our ascension of wealth and abundance, and we just can't handle it, or we've become so petty. People are bitching today about slow shipping, when if that's the worst of your problem, is that a package comes 8 days in the mail rather than 3, that's not a really hard life to live. It's not a bad life. That's pretty good. So there might be some lessons here where humanity in general has to go through a hardship. I don't know. I just think that there's love and compassion on this planet, but there also are some forms of tough love, because that's nature. Mother bears and mama lions, they raise their cubs, and eventually they shift and throw them off into nature. And they wean them off. They don't overly mother them till the day, the mama bear dies. It's like this tough love. It's like, all right, you got to stand on your own 2 feet, and you have to learn how to fly. And even if you fall down that tree off the nest to the bottom of the ground, you will learn how to fly. That is part of tough love. The mother bird isn't just holding the little baby bird to fly into the air. So it's balancing compassion and kind of tough love to build up your own emotional resilience, your own physical resilience. So this concept also helps you pull yourself out of pity partying and being a victim, to understand that this is a temporary cycle that you're going through. And maybe through the time of losing all of these things, you start to build compassion for all the people in your life that have come to help you. Only you can understand the current lessons in your life at that point in time to see what lessons you're trying to be taught. One last example is, I remember sitting in my counselor's office when my ex-husband broke up with me, and I was like, I think I needed to go through, I told her directly, I said, I think I needed to go through this and or experience divorce to really understand what love is, because I don't think modern society understood what love is. There are so many temptations out there. You get attracted to other people with charming personalities. Things at home could be tough, and that person at work who's always happy and smiling just seems like the perfect little apple. So anyways, these are some thoughts that I have. I hope that everything is well in your specific life, but if not, just try to sit back, be calm in the moment, and just try to think or channel to your belief system of source or God, and just ask, what is this trying to teach me? And a lot of times the strongest souls will be going through a lot more on this planet, because they can handle it and they can build up that capacity to overcome those obstacles and barriers. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and see you next time. Bye.